The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100, when we look at what's happening with the stock market, you can clearly see that there's some downside chop occurring. Now, again, I won't go into the area of saying that we're bearish, we're looking for downside yet, but I think there's an area of caution. Now, going into tomorrow, things are going to heat up with the news and the data that will be released, so we have to talk a little bit about that. But I do want to highlight, if you look at yesterday's video into today, again, you kind of came and you just ranged all day long on the S&P and NASDAQ. Worth mentioning, the NASDAQ was down at one point like 400 points, back up 250, back down another 300. It's just like back and forth we go. So that's all we really did, just range bound right there. Now today was a pretty monster day, all things considered. Now going into tomorrow, obviously you're going to have number one. Okay, you have your PCE data being released, the biggest metric of inflation. What's going to happen there? You also had some unemployment numbers get released today as well. That was step number one. Okay, data being released, setting up fundamentals, etc. From that, this is crazy. Like, I really don't know what's going on out here, but basically, let me give you a quick synopsis of what's happening with Russia and Europe, if you don't know. I tweeted it out earlier. Okay, but basically, Russia's doing these aerial tests. I don't know what they're saying they are. Okay, but they're flying into European airspace, testing Europe. Right? What can they do? How can they incite them? Provoking them, right? That's what the news at least is telling us. I'm just reporting the news. Don't attack me. I'm not a specialist on war. I don't want to claim to be that. Okay. Now Europe is basically like, look, like you can't do this. Like we're gonna shoot these down. Now Europe came out, I believe last night or this morning, and said, look, if y'all continue doing this, we are going to shoot down your drones, whatever aircrafts are doing this. That's what's gonna happen. Okay. Now Russia says we are repeatedly denied responsibility and questions remains over individual events so far. Denmark has said only that a professional actor was at work in the airport incidents and that it can't rule out Russia. That's what they said. Okay. Now, again, I'm not getting into who's he said, she said. This is just what's happening. Now, Russia's foreign minister came out today and said, guess what, guys? Moscow is in a real war with NATO Europe. Now, it appears that Trump is trying to get the United States to stay out of this as of right now, but it's also being alerted, and we're seeing that basically we are readying troops as well. Now, again, I don't want to go into detail. It's just escalating. That's the thing that I want to point out right there. Now, again, what is one of our biggest rules here of the most bearish things that can happen? It's the unknown, right? It's the volatility of what could happen, right? That's what's really the most bearish thing for the market, is when you're in a position of no one really knows where we're at or what we're going to do. And this is one of those problems, right? So again, a lot of question marks here. Explains the volatility. All things considered, just my 2 cents, pretty amazing that you're responding the way you are and finding buyers. I'm just going to say that. The fact that you're finding any buyers, despite some of this like tension and what's happening, pretty crazy, okay? You're still looking decent. Now, I will say NASDAQ below key level, worth mentioning. So that's important that we attack all those things first before we go too far at all. Now, before I go too far in the videos or going into stocks, etc., if you want to see what we're trading, how we're trading, everything in between, the Discord link is down below. You get access to our day trade, scalps, etc., Jordan's watch list, my watch list for futures, our trade ideas as well as far as swings, our scalps as well. They're all there for you. So if you ever have questions, please feel free to ask down below. Discord link's down below as well. Also, too, if you want to see what we're using for futures when we do our prop firm trading, again, I use Tradeify. What they're doing with their deal right now for straight to funded, their growth accounts. The growth accounts are really cheap as well. The 50K accounts are what I recommend across the board. Use code JEFE. You get a big discount. Check it out if you want. Let's get back to the video. Okay, now the first thing, again, I just want to harp on so people can see, have your levels for SPY. Now, SPY is obviously holding that level there on basically 656, 57. Good notes right there. You need to get back above 659.5 to be bullish, but again, not to be bullish, but expect further continuation. So what you're expecting there to get out of this kind of range that you're sitting in. QQQ, you can go back here as well. Just sitting right on top of that level. Really good hold above 592. Great hold so far. So we'll see what happens going into tomorrow. But again, strong outing from buyers. I just want to highlight that. Like you're seeing like some aggression from sellers intraday. And then there's just no kind of follow through, and that's the part to me that keeps me excited, right? IWM, again, big conversation over the past few days, and going forward it will be. Again, still holding up, kind of projected out of there, but again, need to give up basically 246 for continuation, what we're looking for. Better look at semis. Again, you had some further downside here on NVIDIA, but again, it's like I'm saying is you see aggression early on from sellers, like on NVIDIA. Gap down, push down to 173, and then you get back above the 50 EMA, back above 176. Again, like it's just weakness. If you're bearish, it's just tough to be bearish in this environment right now. A lot of these names are just holding up. They're doing what you need them to do. They're not really getting into an area of concern. Pulling back to supports, finding support. That's what you want to see. I think there is a big play in the Mag 7 that could be showing itself. I'll go into it here in a second. But again, worth mentioning, even Netflix staying right here as well. Can't get below 1200. AVGO just sitting on top of 332. Key level. Tesla back below 425 could be a problem. I will say that could be a problem, but we'll go more into detail as well. Apple, like what the hell, Apple? Are you just going to continue making higher highs? Like Apple just said blink twice if you're okay and then shot back up. So it looks really good. So again, like as I said, the whole market, there's not too many caution flags for me. AMD hit the 50 MA yesterday, kind of rejected back down, but finding buyers. So, all that being said, like I don't think this news is anything to push under the rug, but the fact that you're finding buyers here is a good sign. Okay. This is the reaction you're getting from some of these these semis, and like you're finding buyers so aggressively. To me, it just points that we look good. Now, again, though, I do want to highlight and I do want to harp on this as much as possible. Data tomorrow is key with PCE. Michigan expected PCE is most key, 7:30 a.m., an hour before market open. Be looking out there, but that's huge. So I think you need to be hyper focused on that going into tomorrow. Now, stocks I'm liking, stocks I'm watching. Basically, I've said to Discord that I really wanted to get bullish last night. I thought about it like to the end of the market. I was like, man, do I go long CoreWeave? Do we do it? And then today I had some stuff going on, so I had to miss the early morning in the market. I was at my son's school. And then I had some other stuff going on throughout the day, so it was just a terrible day for me. But as I'm approaching tomorrow, I think if PCE goes well, it's hard to not be bullish. It's hard to not look for that upside. And, with the reaction today, I mean, this does put a little bit of a, banana in the tailpipe, right, with what's happening with Europe and Russia. I don't think it's going to escalate. I hope it doesn't. But, yeah, like, you're just in a really good spot. One of my favorite stocks right now is Amazon, actually. So, again, some of the biggest plays we've had here on the channel have been value plays, right? And when I say value, I don't mean that, like, it's just cheap and it's just underpriced, but it's when you get these dips, these aggressive dips, that I think you get really interesting opportunities. And, you're not getting a lot of stocks testing the 200 daily moving average, but Amazon is really, really close. So today you came down to 216, which maybe I should have bought there. Maybe I'm going to miss my opportunity. But your 200 SMAs at like 215 basically. And I mean, I think this is just a monster opportunity with where we're at right now. I'm a big fan of this. I'll tell you right now. If you start finding buyers from 215 down to 214, this is a big opportunity. Like, you just dropped down basically from 240 on the 9th, which is about 15 days ago. And you're back down to 215 basically. Monster opportunity. Really got most of this drop from the 22nd, which was this past Monday. So in 3 days, you dropped from 233 down to 218, 216 at lows. Again, I like it. I don't think this is justified. I think Amazon's a pretty great stock. I like where it's at. I think you're getting it at a good price. Again, you've held above your 200 SMA since essentially May. First opportunity going back since beginning of August. Big opportunity going into the end of the year. I'd be watching it. Again, you can see it's like a little previous high that you're holding right there. So maybe you don't get it, but I think Amazon at the least should be on the top of our buying list right now. Again, I'd be going with time as well in these contracts. I was kind of battling with what I liked here on the day as well. So going towards like the Amazon contracts, getting me a better viewpoint. Most likely, I would favor at least November, maybe even December. But the contracts are cheap. When you look at 230s, they're around $7. I have been burnt before on Amazon contracts, previously. But I still really, I think you're just getting value, right? We look at these contracts literally on, Monday. Monday, yeah, right here. Monday, they were sitting at, $13. They're down here at $8. I think the value is really just there. And I think if you start pumping up, the contracts will just move really good. So, again, what I'd be watching, maybe go a little bit further to December if you need to. But what I like a lot, maybe even January, to be totally honest. But the bigger opportunity there right now. A step further, though, going towards Apple, which is one of those really strong names, I really wanted to see a retest of 250. I was talking about this in Discord the past day or so. And yeah, so you kind of get that. You don't really all the way get it 251, and then you bounce back up. Apple is cooking right now. You're very close to all-time highs at 260, basically. Yeah, like right there. I think Apple's going to work into all-time highs. Apple, it's also worth mentioning for anyone that's wondering, well, why is Apple going up? Also understand, first of all, we don't need to overcomplicate things. The fact that Apple is going up is common sense in my opinion, okay? Because what's happening with Apple is you had your first really good piece of news for us as a stock, and I don't know how long. Your best sales for an iPhone and I think ever, your pre-order release, crazy. So that constitutes Apple obviously getting a rip, especially after so many people were worried about Apple and what was going on with China and all that stuff. So this is ultimately a step in the right direction. Breaking out makes tons of sense. And again, like I said in yesterday's video, is you have a lot of these Mag 7 names that are already at all-time highs, right? Like NVIDIA that's broken out and just running right now. You go to a laundry. Microsoft had a pretty big move as of recently, not there right now, but had a really good move. So it just makes sense when you look at some of these names, like Amazon, like you're getting so much value. It's just so cheap right now. Like it's not even close to its all-time high yet. So again, it just these names just seem like they have room to go, right? Google was a great example of a name that was ready to go and then it went, and now you can't get back on that train, right? So again, worth mentioning what I'm looking at, why I'm looking at it, kind of moving forward as well. I think it's one of those big names you should be watching. I also think TSM is interesting where it's at right now. You filled your gap back down. I want to see us hold above like 276 here. I'll tell you that right now, about right there. Let's go to the 1 hour so you can see. Actually, sorry to put up a black line. Love that so much. Yeah, like right there. That's what you want to see, getting back above 276.4. You hold above this. Again, this is the beautiful thing about getting big moves down, big moves up. And when I see these aggressive moves down, I love it. Because, again, you're creating illiquidity. And illiquidity is where you just get fast moves in one direction. And we love to see it because, again, when you move down fast, you can move up just as fast. When you move up fast, you can move down just as fast. So important to remember those things here. TSM stays above. I like it a lot. Has room back to 280. Definitely will be watching that one. Upstart looking real weak. Back below 200 SMA. Steer clear for now. As long as you're below 200 SMA, you cannot be touching this name at all. Any names that I'm looking to go long on, if they're below the 200 SMA, they are off my list. I am not interested. If Amazon loses the 200 SMA, it is off my list. I'm not even going to look to trade it. I'm going to let you know right now. If anything, I look for downside. Clear as day. What I'd be considering there. Another really interesting, and again, today's video, we're going to be bouncing a little bit all over the place, but another really interesting part of today is what's happening with Bitcoin. And again, another really big retest. And I mentioned this a few days ago, like potentially getting another test of 108, previous all-time highs, which you can see back here, clear as day. So if you can hold this area here on Bitcoin, I like it a lot. On the other side of this, what I will say is if you lose this level of 108, you're coming down to 104. I would bet in a blink of an eye. It'll be very aggressive, very quick. I'm going to tell you that right now. So make sure you're watching this as you're sitting at 108 if you're trading crypto. If you get below that, you are going to hit 104. It's going to happen quick. Make that abundantly clear. There's no misconception, no confusion. That'll be an easy trade as well. I think Ethereum has also just gotten slapped. Not a good look here on Ethereum that you got, we're looking so good in all-time highs, and you broke right back down. Don't love seeing that, okay? So, again, worth mentioning, worth watching. I definitely think Bitcoin's the leader here, so I wouldn't get too crazy. But, again, over the next 24, 48 hours, really going into the weekend as well, this news is going to be key. And I'm not going to pretend to have the answers. I'm not going to pretend to tell you what's going to happen. But I will say is if Europe does make any attack on a Russian aircraft or anything like that, I would be willing to bet you get downside on the market. So I was really waiting till tomorrow to get more aggressive on the swing side of things. This puts a wrench in it. And again, if you guys know me at all, I try to be as conservative as possible, especially on my swings. It's, again, like I always tell people, like, you want to defend your portfolio. You want to defend your capital. Like, that's your lifeline. That's what keeps you in the game. That's what keeps you going. That's what makes you money in the long run, right? So again, when you have something like this up in the air, the risk to reward metric in my mind just really isn't there. Okay. And you have to understand that you're taking big risk when you don't really need to. Just my 2 cents. So again, I'm not a huge fan of it. I wish I could give you the answers if Europe is going to attack. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know. But what I'm looking at, where I'm at right now, what I will say is so far the reactions that what we've seen from this have been really good. They just happen. Semiconductors reacting very strongly. Tech names holding up so far. Could this end tomorrow? Potentially. Could we get more aggressive with selling? Yes. So again, worth mentioning, worth watching. Sorry if I didn't give you clear-cut answers today, guys, but when you have news like this, I'm just going to give you my honest opinion. Follow for more content. See you guys tomorrow.